Welcome back to another edition of History in Your Own Backyard. I'm Susie Selleck, and today we are near Sexton, Indiana, at the Little Blue River Cemetery. I'm joined by Marilyn Roberts. Marilyn, thanks for coming out today.
Well, you're welcome, and welcome to Little Blue River Cemetery.
Thank you. It's a beautiful day. I would love for you to just tell us about the setting here.
Little Blue River Cemetery sits on a knoll in Center Township, Indiana, right near the Jackson Township line. It sits along Little Blue River. Little Blue River is one of the water bodies in eastern Rush County. It meanders northeast to southwest through Center Township, and then it flows on down through Rush County into Shelby County.
Do you know about how old the property is that we're on? I know that this has had several different names, but do you know how old this, the cemetery is?
I don't know an age because the church that was associated with the cemetery burned in 1917, and the church records plus cemetery records were lost. The earliest burial that we have discovered is 1833, and that's a lady by the name of Mary Tung Coe. There are also near her grave two children, John and Elizabeth Reeves, that were very young, and another child, Sally McBride, and she is buried in a grave site with her parents. The Baptist cemetery sprung up nearby, and it originated just prior to 1830. The cemetery itself was sometimes called the Little Blue River Baptist Cemetery. When the church burned in 1917, there was another church built just west of here, and it was built in 1928, and eventually it closed and was a home for many years. The majority of the graves here in the cemetery are very, very old. The cemetery is divided a bit into two sections. The section we're setting in is the north section, considered the old section, and then just to our south is what's considered the new section. There have been recent burials, as recent as last year. There are a few families that they still bury their loved ones here.
Marilyn, can you tell us about some of the pioneer families that are buried here?
One of the oldest pioneer families is the James and Mary Fancher Oldham family. James Oldham was born in North Carolina in 1794. He and Mary Fancher were married in 1817 in Sevier County, Tennessee. They made their way into Rush County in approximately 1827 and settled here along the Little Blue. James and Mary had 16 children, only one of which died as an infant, and that was a twin. And Mary Fancher Oldham lived to see all 15 of her children married and with families, and many of them are buried here in the cemetery. The next family of significance is the Kirkpatrick family.
Yeah.
Samuel Kirkpatrick was married to Elizabeth Zion. Samuel Kirkpatrick is the son of William and Anna Mize. And Samuel was one of 15 children, and many of which them and their spouses are buried here. Samuel owned many acres here in Center Township, and he's credited with platting the little town of Mays in 1884, which is about 3 miles to our northeast.
Okay.
There are many new houses in this area. John and Elizabeth Newhouse came in 1818 from Franklin County. They settled, and 2 Newhouse brothers married 2 Kitchen sisters. And there was Samuel and Polly Kitchen Newhouse and Isaac and Elizabeth Kitchen Newhouse. And the Kitchens were originally from Virginia. And then we have the David family. One of the most ornate tombstones, well, actually 2, they're side by side, 2 of the most ornate tombstones and the most majestic stones here in the cemetery belong to William and Catherine Bayless David, and their son William Henry David and their daughter Margaret David. William died as a young man, and Margaret lived to adulthood but was never married. William's father, Jacob, was a prosperous pioneer down near Rushville. And then we have in the cemetery the McDaniel family, and they're stalwarts in this area. William McDaniel came originally from North Carolina, and he settled here in the 1830s about. He was married to Jane Sargent, and they had 4 children. Then Jane Sargent passed away, and he married Leah Oldham Hollingshead, who had become a widow, and the family grew to 8 children. And so that was an example of a situation that occurred quite frequently in the pioneer times. A parent would die, and there was a great need for families to remarry and hook up so they could take care of each other. It was a rough life out here during that period. There's another unique individual here in the cemetery. His name is Frederick Moeller. We don't know a lot about him. He was born in 1802, and he was born in France and came to this country. He's on passenger lists traveling to the United States, and his immigration records trace back to the books 1845 to 47. And so he is here with his wife and his sister. And then a 7th and 8th generation family from this area, the Porter family. William and Catherine Porter came here in 1832 with their son John. And the Porters came from West Virginia, but they had originated from Fairfax County, Old Virginia. The Porters have lived here many, many years, and we're going to talk about Lawrence Porter today, who is a great-great-great-grandson. In fact, Lawrence's son is president of the cemetery board, and a grandson of Lawrence mows the cemetery to this day. And I had the privilege of knowing Lawrence Porter as I was growing up. He was quite an impactful individual here in Rush County. He grew up on a farm and had the privilege and the pleasure to watch animal power transition into steam power and tractor power here in Rush County. While he loved horses, he loved his dad's tractor better. But Lawrence remained to be fascinated with the old ways, never forgot how he was raised and his ancestors that came before him. And so Lawrence and his wife Margie are buried here, and it's a privilege to remember all the stories Lawrence used to tell with a twinkle in his eye. Little Blue River Cemetery is a haven for genealogists. As I stated earlier, many of the graves go back to the very early 1800s, and the families here at Blue River weren't necessarily famous people, but they stayed here in Rush County. They were blue-collar people. They were settlers that built up this farm ground and have passed it down for generations to their family members. I also want to say how grateful I am to the historians that have collected all this information. All that I have to do is read it in books or check some things out on the internet. And to my ancestors and my family for leaving good records, good stories, and such a legacy. I also want to thank the family of Elizabeth King. Liz passed away last year, and her family designated her memorials to go to the Rush County Genealogical Society to create films such as this. Liz's husband, Hayden, was an ancestor of the William and Jane Sargent McDaniel family that I mentioned earlier. And so she felt that it was important for his family to be recognized and to leave a legacy for that.
Thank you for watching another episode of History in Your Own Backyard. Today we were near Sexton, Indiana, right here in the Little Blue River Cemetery. And thank you so much, Marilyn. You did a great job.
Thank you.
And remember, travel slowly and stop often. Bye for now.